Hi, can you burn sawdust in a wood stove? Well, watch the video and find out. I made this video in late 2020, but the topic was not relevant at the time as it is today due to the ongoing energy crisis. Many people wonder, can you convert a wood stove in a sawdust stove? Well, we're about to find out. I've placed this metal pipe at an angle in the wood stove and compacted some sawdust around it. By placing the pipe at an angle, I've touched the grate with the bottom of the pipe and thus created an opening which can be visible in the compacted sawdust. I did not have that much sawdust left, so only filled the wood stove 2/3 of the way. To start the fire, I placed a naphthalene cube in the hole and used a lighter. What could go wrong? Immediately, as you can see, the draft is strong enough that the flame is being sucked into the hole, so I'll just leave it for some time to see what happens. And I'm using the time of the creation of the video to know how long it's been burning, just to make it more accurate for you guys. After burning for 20 minutes, this cavity was formed. Well, not technically burning, more smoldering as you can see it. And that tripped the carbon monoxide alarm at 180 ppm. It dropped down to 59. But as you can see, I'm not using a flue. Therefore, most of the smoke is escaping through the small gate instead of the actual flue and into the chimney. And I do not want that happening within my house, so I'm doing it at the back. But the problem still remains. This is not a complete combustion. This is just a lot of unburned particles, unburned smoke. And as I said, it's smoldering, it's not really burning, and that is a big problem. That's a lot of pollution, that's a lot of potential heat escaping, and that's a lot of health problems if it leaks into your house. After another 10 minutes, I made a few observations, and I think I understood why it was smoldering instead of burning. 1. The sawdust wasn't completely dry, and it's the wrong type. As I said, it's pine wood, so there's a lot of sap going all around. And 2, the top of the cavity was not wide enough. You can see it's burning slightly on the top, but it's much narrower than the bottom. And then I made it slightly wider on the top and it started burning. Now I was very careful not to make it collapse. That would be a disaster. But as you can see, there's a live flame and it's starting to burn a lot better. So naturally I tried stoking the fire, but because I don't have a flue, it all blew back out. Do not want that scenario indoors. I do not want to burn down my couch and my carpet. But it also didn't work. As you can see, I've extinguished the little flame that was there. Alas, I have a flame. A very weak one, but flame nonetheless. That is because I cheated. I put something highly combustible, a piece of fat wood, and I've jammed it inside a cavity. Only then did all of the smoke start to combust into a very weak flame. 40 minutes has passed since I lit the fire, and this is how wide the channel is on the bottom. Of course, I'm still burning stuff inside. Exactly 2 hours after I lit the fire, I still have no visible flames, no stable flames. It's all still glowing, as you can see, but it's not technically burning, it's just smoldering and smoking a lot, but that's from the top. Now, when it comes to the heat output, the back is relatively warm to the touch, but the front, where most of the combustion is happening, it is burning hot. I would not do it. Unfortunately, still a lot of smoke and doesn't make me happy. I guess it would work if I put a piece of wood or something that's continuously burning and it would ignite everything due to the temperature. But as you can see, there's a copious amount of smoke and unburned sawdust particles and ash everywhere. It's a very filthy burn. I do not like that personally. And yeah, I mean, it's heating just on one side, on the front where it's smoldering. The back will heat up eventually, but that's far from ideal. If I were to use regular wood, within the 2 hours it would have been sizzling hot. After additional 10 minutes, the flames became visible and it actually started burning. It collapsed, the cavity collapsed, and I guess that increased the temperature rather dramatically. to cause it to ignite, and you can see how fast the sparks are flying compared to the previous segment. And you can actually see this flame. I'm ready to put my GoPro in it, but also it kind of acted like a whoa, kind of acted like a rocket stove. So it was spiraling. The flame was spiraling, and that made me happy. One positive thing that I noticed is that the fuel level, the sawdust level, did not really drop. It just formed the cavity and it's slowly spreading, but the sawdust level is still the same. After a few moments, the cavity collapsed and you can see the heap of burning sawdust, and it's actually self-sustained. It's burning on its own and creating quite a lot of heat. I could feel the difference, especially looking through the gates and standing close to it. But here's the money shot. A sneak peek through the top. The lid is broken. I didn't fix it at the time, but you can see the cavity. You can see that it's burning. There we go. But yeah, it apparently just needed some time, but I'm still not comfortable with the amount of smoke. Like, look at this. If this had happened in your house, you would just have to evacuate immediately. And the last video, 2.5 hours later, you can see it keeps collapsing, but it's self-sustained. It's still burning. It's producing a lot more heat. Another look from the top. It's burning all right, and I'm not aiding it anyways. But I guess it starts being self-sustainable only when the top of the cavity expands and widens. I guess something with the air to fuel ratio. I don't know. But you can see it's burning much better than before and much slower than the wood. I mean, in the 2.5 hours, I would have already burned whatever I put inside. This is nice, pleasant heat. In the end, I would call this a successful experiment. Although it's far from ideal. Like, you can burn sawdust in a different way. Just put it in a cardboard box or a paper bag and it's just gonna burn. But I would definitely not use this over wood anytime. Like, I would not put so much effort and so much worry into it. I'm not a professional and this is not a sawdust stove. It's not optimal for it, obviously. But in case I had nothing else, I would resort to this, to freeze to death or to burn something awkwardly. As long as the sawdust is not wet, I guess it will burn. As long as that cavity doesn't completely collapse, it shouldn't be a problem. But I would not do this inside my house, and neither should you. As I said, I'm not a professional and I did this on my own risk. The only advantage that I see from this method is just the consumption rate of fuel. Yes, it was producing heat very slowly, but once it started, it was heating up just like wood. But it took drastically longer amount of time to burn it all. Lastly, I have to mention economy. I presume sawdust won't be made just for burning. That would be a laborious process. It's mostly found as, waste, offcuts. So I guess it's infinitely less expensive than a cord of wood. But I wasn't bothered enough to check up on exact numbers. Well, that's it. Sawdust burning does work. Sawdust smoldering does work, but is not recommended. Not by me, not by safety agencies. So if you do it, make sure you have plenty of carbon monoxide detectors and smoke alarms. Thank you for watching as always, and if you think this video was cool, it would be a lot cooler if you liked it and subscribed.